Welcome back to another episode of Life After Corporate, my friend. And if you're new to our show, welcome home. This is where you get interesting ideas, practical advice, and insights onto this journey of entrepreneurship, how to grow yourself as well as grow your business. And today we're going to talk about your human design. And maybe you've seen the phrase human design pop up more frequently in your LinkedIn feed or on Facebook or Instagram, because people are more curious now than ever in what makes me tick, right? What is it about me? What is it about my innate makeup, my innate capabilities, my strengths that I can leverage and put to use as an entrepreneur as I grow this business? And, being aware of some of your drains as well. So we're going to dive into this conversation with human design with Candy Barone. And Candy Barone, welcome to Life After Corporate.
Oh, thank you so much, Deb. It is such an honor to be here. And I am excited to jump in this conversation with you. I think it's a big conversation right now. And so happy to be here.
Yeah, and a little bit of backstory. So Candy and I are both members of that organization I've mentioned before, the Dames. We've interviewed a lot of Dames in the last few weeks since the conference, or the Funference, the annual Funference. And, when I met you, it was... You're just such a wealth of insight and knowledge about human design. And I had dabbled into it a little bit, and I can't wait to really peel back the layers on why this is such a powerful and important conversation for women founders. But before we do that, what is your life after corporate story? Were you once in corporate, Candy?
Yes, I was 20 years in corporate in various leadership positions. I was the poster child for climbing the corporate ladder rather rapidly. And my story is about the age of 35, I found myself in the hospital. I was extremely burnt out, thought I was having a heart attack, and it turned out I had manifested a mass in my chest that literally was from all of the stress and anxiety. And so it was an interesting journey after that. And about right before I turned 40, it was the decision that it's time for me to leave and do something different. And so I stepped away. I moved away from Milwaukee to Austin. I got out of a relationship. I started a new job. I wrote a book. I'm one of those that kind of pulled the whole tablecloth at once. Not something I recommend when I'm coaching other people. And it started this journey 11 years ago, over 11 years ago now, where I just felt my voice would be stronger going out on my own than where I kept getting stuck in a box or kept getting my voice muted in various capacities. And interestingly enough, over the course of the last 11 years, all but one of my former environments that I was employed at have all become clients of mine that I've come in and done because now I'm the expert. And it's amazing how my value wasn't seen while I was there, but the minute I stepped away, all of a sudden I became an expert and have been invited back in. And so it's been an interesting journey to play on both sides of that over the
Yeah.
last 30 years.
Wow. You're my spiritual doppelganger. Do you know that? I left corporate more than 11 years ago now. And I pulled the tablecloth off, under the plates and all of that, and left my job, left my marriage, sold my house, suddenly became a single mom, and all at once. And I think we have other things in common as well, as we'll get into our human design. So let's explain human design to our audience who may be uninitiated. Maybe they've never heard about it before. Maybe they're familiar with the term but don't know what it means. Maybe they've even done the assessment and they know what their human design is. Explain it to us as if it's 101, human design 101.
Absolutely. And so I'm going to explain what it is and isn't in the same context, because I think it's important, because even you setting up the question, you said a word I want to pull out and dispel. It is not an assessment.
Right.
And what I mean by that is when we take an assessment, it's a series of questions that we answer that are very subjective. I mean, honestly, it's based on the quality of the questions. It's based on, did I have my coffee this morning? It's based on where I'm at in my life. And so assessments can change over time. Human design is an energetic blueprint of a snapshot in time. So it's a function of your time of birth, location of birth, and date of birth. So looking at whatever was happening energetically at that time, it's an imprint or a blueprint of that moment. So your human design doesn't change how you experience your human design. And so there's a little nuance there. The most simplified, so it's an operating system. It's basically a mechanical operating system of how you are here to operate in the world. And notice how I said how. It's not what you are, and it's not who you are, which is a big sort of discernment. There's a lot of people like, oh, so I'm this, and think it's another box to put that. No, you get to decide who you are. It is strictly a function of how you operate optimally and in alignment versus where you're creating extra struggle and stress and like all the things. And on the most simplistic level, if you've seen the movie Soul, the Pixar movie Soul with Jamie Foxx, there's a scene where he sort of signs his soul contract in the air, and then he waits in line for the portal to open so that he can go in the world and be a jazz musician. That's your human design. You sign a soul contract, you wait 88 astrological degrees, and then the portal opens to give you what you need to live out that soul curriculum. In the more complex, I would say it's that movie plus Inside Out, plus the entire Matrix series, plus the movie, plus Kung Fu Panda 2 and 3, plus Wayne Dyer's The Shift, maybe The Neverending Story, all playing at the same time simultaneously, and somehow it makes sense.
Oh my God. So it sounds like human design is tied to astrology. Is that true?
Yes, there are components of astrology that are brought in. They are different modalities. Astrology has its own space. Human design does bring in both Eastern and Western philosophy or astrology. It also brings in the I Ching, which is the 64 hexagrams, the Chinese I Ching. It brings in the Judaism, the Kabbalah, the tree of life. It brings in the chakra system, and then it brings in quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and epigenetics. So it's a more holistic approach of how all those things play to give you a mapping of how you're here to operate in alignment with your soul curriculum.
Awesome. So it's how to optimize how you show up in the world.
100%.
Really,
Yeah.
based on
Well, I was just going to say, so think about it in terms of how you work, rest, and play best, how you interact in the world with others, how you nourish and feed your body, how you play, how you create, how you manifest. All of the hows live within inside your human design.
I love the how.
I do too.
Like, tell me the how. Tell me the how. So I know from our conversation, I know from also past work that I've done in understanding my human design is that I'm a manifesting generator. I believe you're a manifesting generator too. There are 4 different, do you call them archetypes or 5 different profiles or archetypes?
I would call them archetypes or auras. So there are people that just call them types. And depending on what school of camp you're in, it is either 4 or 5. The original human design that was downloaded through Ra would tell you there are 4 archetypes. He lumped all generator types into one grouping. I will say, as we've understood human design more and more, it really does make sense in my mind to separate those out. So you have 5 archetypes or roles, general roles we are here to embody and play out in in our lifetime and incarnation on earth. And one is the manifestor, who is here to inform and initiate. So they are the creative force that has a direct connection to source and get just downloads and sparks and just initiate. Then there is the generator types, who are really the ones that are here to do the most meaningful work to move us into our next evolution of humanity, move us into our next consciousness, meaningful work being the operative energy there. Then there are many manifesting generators like you and I, which have components of both. We're generators first, but we also have that manifesting, and we're here to move very fast and collapse the cycles of how we work. So we compress time and simplify and shorten the cycles of how that work gets done. Then there's the projectors, who are the oracles. They are the guides, the visionaries. They see the entire energy template and the potential for where we can move and evolve as humanity. And they are here to orchestrate all of the pieces and pull out the magic inside the generator types. And then there's the reflectors, which is a very small grouping. It's 1 to 2% of the population. They are literally, their entire function is to reflect back or mirror the health or wellness or alignment of the world, a community, an organization at any point. And so they are literally just mirroring back, ooh, we're not in alignment, or we are, which is why a lot of reflectors oftentimes have autoimmune diseases and have chronic illnesses, because they're carrying all of this imbalance at times in their body as part of what they're reflecting back.
Oh, it's so interesting. So we have generators, we have manifestors, generators, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors, and those are the 5.
Correct.
So once we understand, first of all, how do we find out what human design type we are? What's the process of understanding, well, who am I, or how am I showing up in the world? It's not a who or what, it's a
The
how.
first thing you would do is run your chart. So all you need to know is your time of birth, date of birth, and location of birth. And I would say you can run your chart in multiple places, and you can run your chart for free. You do not need to pay. So anybody that's charging to run a chart, go find that. You can go get a free one. It will give you the same thing. Now, there are charts that have more depth in them depending on where you want to go. But to get the foundational aspects of what you need to first understand your chart, you can get that free anywhere. You can get that from me. You can get that from any other resource. What I would say is the first step is to get your chart. The second step is to, whether you get a summary report, that's hard to say, or a reading, or you do your own jumping down rabbit holes, it's to understand what I call the 5 core foundational pieces, which I will say, especially in light of how many people are starting to come to the surface in human design, in my opinion, it's an area that's missed or glossed over too quickly. People want to get into what they think is sexy in the chart, which is all the nuances and all the like flavors and all that. And none of that matters if you don't understand what alignment looks like on the most foundational level for you to understand your own innate wiring. And when I say the core 5, I mean your type. So which archetype are you? What is the strategy, signature, and not self of that type? So how does that type operate? What is the authority of that type? Because your authority and strategy is how you make decisions that are best aligned for you. Then there is your profile. So the fraction that you see on your chart, which is the role you're here to play out. It's the flavoring. It's how others experience you. It's what you're putting into the world. And then it's looking at your centers, those 9 big things on your chart that mirror the chakra system, understanding if they are colored or white on your chart and what that means in terms of the how you use energy. Is it energy you're putting into the world that you have consistent access to, or is it energy you're drawing in from the world around you and amplifying, which are your areas you are most prone for imposter syndrome, burnout, out of alignment, a lot of programming, conditioning. Those 5 pieces, if you really want to understand your wiring, take some time for you to understand. And I would say I see too many people bypassing that because it's not as sexy as the rest of what's in the chart.
Right. So let's talk about some of the archetypes. I mean, we don't have enough time to go deeply into all 5 and how they impact you as an entrepreneur and how you show up in the world and how you get your energy and how you get depleted and what to watch out for. But let's talk about 2. You know, pick any 2 that you think are most prevalent with women entrepreneurs, and what do we need to understand in order to operate more effectively, more efficiently? And what you said about manifesting generators made so much sense to me personally about, compressing time and shortening cycles, because I've done that my entire life. Like, what is the shortest distance between 2 points? As a young new corporate employee as a salesperson, I was like, whoa, this sales cycle is way too long. We can take steps out of it. We can get our money faster.
Yeah.
And, that it was just a natural thing that I've always delved into. In fact, now to what we do today is how can we shorten the cycle to get proof of concept and minimal viable offer? And then how can we shorten the cycle to get to six figures?
Yeah.
So that made so much sense to me when you said that.
Yeah.
So pick two of the types that you think are most prevalent for entrepreneurs, and let's explain what you might be experiencing and how you can optimize based on your type.
Yeah. And so I will pick manifesting generators, one, because you and I are both Mani-Gens and we're sitting here, but I will also pick projectors because for two reasons. One, they oftentimes are the two types that get a lot of conditioning, shaming, shoulding for one of two different reasons. And when they are in alignment, they work really beautifully together, especially in the entrepreneurial space. And so when I even think about the dames and we did sort of some things at the conference, there's the majority of who shows up in that space are manifesting generators and projectors. And so the manifesting generators, the first thing we need to understand is that we are generators first. We are here to do the meaningful work, and our strategy is what's known as response, meaning we are here to respond. Now, one of the things that people get confused is they think in that language of to wait to respond means I got to wait till someone asks me a question. I can't do anything as a Mani-Gen until that is not what that means. We are responding to life. We are responding from the minute we wake up. It's as if a switch goes off. We are responding to life because all of our response comes from outside of us, meaning we see things in the world and all of a sudden our sacral goes, ooh, 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 ooh. And it's that guttural, visceral energy. It's not an analytical or logical space. And most of us grew up as Mani-Gens getting feedback in a way that shut down that magic. One was stop grunting and use your voice. I got that told because I'd be like, my mom's like, stop grunting, use your voice. And the more we tell Mani-Gens to use their voice, the more we pull them out of their ability to listen to that sacral that's really powerful. The other thing that most Mani-Gens got taught growing up was you're too much. You're too this, you're too that, because we have big power. Manifesting generators, especially if there's a lot of definition in your chart, meaning you've got a lot of those centers defined or colored, you got a lot of power. When your switch goes off and that thing hits and lights you up, you are off to the races. You are running hard and often can feel like a bull in a china shop. Meaning the other aspect of what a manifesting generator needs to do as part of their strategy is once they respond and that thing lights them up, they can envision, they visualize, like we see it. This is the manifestor in us. We start seeing the whole thing play out. We miss oftentimes the most critical aspect in our strategy, which is to then inform. And I want to be clear, and manifestors have to do this too, but I want to be clear that inform is not asking for permission. Manifesting generators are not here to ask for permission, which also makes a lot of people not real comfortable because manifesting generators are here to inform once they respond. Meaning their inform is, I'm about to crank up some power and you have two options. You can come in and like get filled up, or you better leave because I'm about to blow up a couple cities. And that inform is, if you've ever seen the movie Mary Poppins, where the colonel on top of the house sets off the cannon and they got to brace themselves because everything goes haywire. That is what happens when a Mani-Gen gets lit up and is about to take action. We've got to give everybody a reminder that it's 5 o'clock and we're about to blow the cannon, and they better like brace themselves or take cover because we're going into full motion. And so that inform piece becomes very important before we initiate, because then when we initiate, we drop into what's called a nonverbal creative flow. And the thing that I will say for Mani-Gens that if you do not inform before you get in that flow, at some point there's going to be an implosion point, meaning somebody inadvertently is going to interrupt you and you are going to blast anger back at them, or they're going to blast anger at you because you disrupted their world. That inform piece settles some of that energy for you, which is really important because you are here to, many gens are here to disrupt. We are here to shorten cycles. We are here to bring some new things to play. And it often can feel like really intense, really overwhelming, depending on your design and your chart. It can feel like a lot of energy for people. And so we need to have that space to get people prepared and then drop into our flow and not be interrupted so that we can create the magic. Because when we do that, we can get 4 months of work done in 4 days. It's crazy what we can accomplish when we're in that space. So that's the manifesting generator.
Yeah, so let's pause there before we go to projector, and let's talk about some practical scenarios
Absolutely.
where people who are manifesting generators might find themselves, because I think that inform piece is so important because, you get a major download. We've just been through the planning process with all of my mastermind clients, right? So there was a 38-page planning guide that was downloaded, and it's kind of overwhelming, so I think, in retrospect, maybe I would have broken it up into different pieces and fed it out more slowly. So let's talk about, what are the great experiences that you might be feeling as a manifesting generator, and the great experiences that you may be delivering as a manifesting generator. But also, what are some of the things that you need to watch out for? What are some of the traps that your type can fall into, if that makes sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And I think your example is really good to start that conversation because, again, a manifesting generator can feel very overwhelming or intense for other people around them. And one of the first things a manifesting generator needs to remember is that no one is going to be able to keep up with them. And they need to let go of that expectation of their team working at the pace that they work at. I do a lot of coaching with manifesting generator business owners who have a lot of projectors or even generators on their team where they're like, I don't understand why my team's not doing. I'm like, okay, they're not wired like you. Because when a manifesting generator is lit up, they are like a hot live wire that is like supercharged. And like I said, they can light up like 3 cities immediately. And all this download comes through and all this. And we need to remember that others don't consume or receive information the same way we do, that to be able to slow down, and it's one of the most challenging things for a manifesting generator is patience and to slow down. And it's 2 of the things that are part of our soul curriculum to learn, especially when we're interacting with others. Ideally, most manifesting generators work better by themselves when they're in their creative space, when they're communicated and articulated. And some of this would depend on the specific nuances in your chart, because this is where the layers of what's in your wiring can alter. So I'm going to talk from a generalized standpoint, knowing that if you're a Manny Gen and that's not me, there are other markers and other things we need to look at because it's a holistic context we're exploring, not just I'm isolating it for a moment. But as a manifesting generator, that space to slow down and inform, what happens is 2 things. One, it allows people to prepare. So it allows people to clear what needs to be cleared, or like get settled into, okay, this is going to be big. I need to receive it. It also allows you to look at what pieces are actually important to communicate to others. Meaning, sometimes a Manny Gen, because we get so in our energy, we like to brainstorm sometimes out loud as well. And we're like, blah, 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 and our team starts frantically trying to capture everything we said. And then they're off and 5 minutes later, we're like, why are you working on that? I'm like, because you said, and it's like, oh, whoa, that was just me talking. That's not a thing. That we've got to slow down and be able to discern what pieces we're delegating off, what pieces are just us moving energy. Because the other thing that happens for Manny Gen, especially if there's a lot of power in your chart, we have so much energy that sometimes all of the things we're doing don't need to go anywhere. It's just a release for us to push some energy off so that we can get focused on the thing that actually matters. And if we don't understand that about ourselves, we then inadvertently put way too much on our family, on our team, on those around us, because they think, and there's an expectation that A, they need to do all that, B, that they need to keep up, especially if you've got somebody on your team that's got an open route, because now they're pressurized of, oh my God, now the list just went from 20 to like 60 and holy crap, how am I going to get everything done? And they start to panic. As a Manny Gen, we've got to be able to discern, whoa, that's just me in my space. That wasn't, so that we can very clearly articulate what those expectations are and very clearly articulate what we need from others. Sometimes all we need is for others to leave us alone so we can get into that flow. And we're just informing them what's happening and they don't need to do anything. And for a Manny Gen, especially one that's a business owner or one that's in a leadership capacity, that's a really fundamental piece of understanding their wiring for them to embrace is my energy can take people out if I'm
Yes.
not careful. And it also feels really good to people because we inspire people. We lift them up. Like people get tapped in and they can think that all of that now is put on them. And we've got to be really clear about what pieces we're informing. But in an example, like we just went through a whole visioning process and having it, how do I break this down into bite-sized pieces? Because your generators, if you think about the difference between a generator and Manny Gen, generators, the tortoise, the Manny Gen's the hare. They like a methodical to the point where sometimes as a Manny Gen, we're like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Are you really going to like move that? But they move at their own cadence and there's a rhythm and we blast and come back and blast and come back.
Yeah.
We've got to be able to give people what they can take on. This is where understanding archetypes and understanding design helps you coach your team differently, helps you understand how to delegate differently. Not everybody on your team is going to get delegated the same way. And as a Manny Gen, that ability to slow down to speed up is probably one of the biggest opportunities and struggles for a manifesting generator.
Absolutely. And everything you said really hit spot on, because I can overwhelm people. And another downside, I think, is because seeing so much of a big picture, you can take on too much and dilute the results that you want because you have too many things in play at once. So having that self-discipline or that self-knowledge of knowing that, wow, I've got so many ideas. I can employ 25 people in implementing this and, building this incredible company. But we're a small business and we have to move slower. And you've just explained to me why I overwhelmed one of my employees this year. And I was like, wait a minute, what's so overwhelming? It's so clear. But it's absolutely true. So let's talk about projectors. How are projectors different? And what are some of the strengths and what are some of the things you need to look out for or, need to be on your radar that traps you can fall into?
Yeah. Projectors are a really special category. I actually have a really soft spot and I keep getting visions of why focusing on projectors is so big, especially as maybe a little selfish in my Manny Gen, knowing I can't fully be in the magnitude and brilliance of my gifts without having projectors around me. And I say that because they've only been around since the last mutation. So it's been about 1781 when projectors came in as another archetype. They are still babies, so to speak, in the grand scheme of things, but they came into a world that's very generator like. It's all about getting shit done and moving and hustling and doing the thing and more, right? And projectors are really, and I love in quantum human design, they're called the orchestrator. They are without a doubt what I will call witches. They are warriors igniting transformational change and healing. And so I say that because they are an oracle. they hold, first of all, the energy template of the world, which is why projectors get so burnt out so quickly. They are holding the potential for what we get to move into, and we are moving into a new energy right now. It's been happening since the pandemic, and we're moving into a new energy February 2027, which is another mutation in our design that's allowing us and pushing us into another level of humanity and evolution and consciousness. That's for another day. But projectors see that. They see the entirety of that, and they see the potential of how we can do work from a more organized, efficient, effective, systematized way. And systematized not being the current systems we're in, systematized that brings us into redefining a new level of success. And so projectors are it's like they have a crystal ball and they can see how the pieces, and they're here to rearrange the puzzle pieces. And the magic of a projector, especially with a mani-gen or a generator, but mani-gens and projectors, when they learn how to work together, when a manifesting generator knows that a projector needs to be recognized for their values. So their strategy is we got to be recognized for the fact that they are brilliant. They're bringing wisdom. They are oracles. And there's an energetic invitation that says, please share that truth and wisdom with me. They have a very penetrating light. They're like a lighthouse, but they will literally shine that light. They do this 1-to-1. They shine that light into you and they crack you wide open. And it's as if a movie screen goes up and they show you your potential. And so when, like, it almost makes me want to cry right now. I'm like, every projector I know, oh my God, if I love their energy, I'm like, please pour into me, crack me open, because they will see things the generator types can never see. We need the projectors, because otherwise what happens is we're creating the crazy plan that generators keep trying to do more of the same, thinking they're going to get a different result. And the projectors are the ones that say, stop, this system's not working. We need to restructure the system. We need to create more ease. We need to be more efficient. We need for you to be in your gifts and not all this like wind and grind and burn and churn and like hustle for the muscle kind of nonsense. There's a magic you're here that only you can do, and it fits here. That's the magic of a projector. That's their strength. That's their gift. Why I feel so compelled to work with projectors in a lot of capacities is because most projectors need to be healed in their sense of self-worth. They have been caught up in a generator world, and they will do all the things a generator does, even social media, and they're like, why am I not getting the results? Because you're not aligned. You're not here to be a generator. Even how they use social media is totally different than how a generator type would use it. It's not for engagement. It's their platform to speak their truth. It's not about like shares, engagement, conversations. It's about, I'm just going to be a beacon of light as a lighthouse and shine my light so that the right ships come in, because I'm just magnetizing the truth of who I am. They also are depleted in their resources and they're burnt out. Most, because they've been acting as a generator, especially up to the age of 40, most projectors have a really hard burnout period. And so a lot of people in corporate who make that transition, I see burnt out if they're a projector, and now they're trying to start a business, or now they're trying to do these things, and they haven't healed their sense of self-worth, and they haven't created a space where they are building sufficiency of resources and sustainability. And so for projectors, and any of you that have a line 4, Deb, in your profile, I'm going to offer you a mantra that says, I no longer pour from my cup. I only pour from my saucer. If there was ever an archetype that needed to embody that the only way you can serve others is to pour from your overflow, is a projector. Because otherwise what happens is they burn themselves out, and then they create bitterness, and then they can't magnetize themselves for the right invitations to then let that wisdom and that guidance. They're here to guide us. They're not here to do the heavy lifting and the work itself.
Yeah, that was so beautiful. Thank you for that, Candy. And as one who lives with a projector, I know exactly what you mean. And it's a beautiful experience. But, yeah, they can burn out pretty quickly. And it's like, babe, I got to go to bed.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's 8 o'clock. What are you
yeah,
talking about? Well, they gave it all.
yeah.
Candy, this has been so, so interesting. I want to pivot to how people can work with you, how they can spend more time with you, maybe, work with you one on one, understand their human design type, and function better in their businesses or as they're making this transition from corporate leader to entrepreneur. What are some of the resources or how do you work with people?
Yeah, so there's a couple capacities. Thank you for that. One, first and foremost, even if you've run your chart, if you have your basic chart and maybe you've gone down a couple rabbit holes or you've explored some things, I invite you to run your chart for free through my tools and resources. And you can do that at candybarone.com HD/chart. When you do that, you can download a free report. That report is almost 20 pages, and it is 20 pages on those 5 core foundational pieces that have some meat. It's not a surface level report. It's a juicy, rich report that gives you some very deep insight into how you're wired and brings those 5 pieces together in a way that you're like, oh, so that's kind of ground one, right? That gives you that space, because if I could get that in the hands of every person, we would change the way we communicate, how we go to business, how we interact together. It would change so much unnecessary conflict. You can go out there and run it for your family members, for your team members. You can run it as many times as you want. It's free, and you can download a report for everybody. That would be step one. If you're like, I already know I want to go deeper, I want to do that, there's probably 2 capacities. The first would be doing a foundational reading with me, which then takes those 5 core foundational pieces and the context of what else lives in your chart and really helping to tell a story about your own wiring and how you're aligned. And we would do that one-on-one, and you can set that up with me. The other thing that I do, especially for people that are in that transition, is I do a leadership bundle, which pulls out, because one of the things I think is so brilliant about human design is it does create the pathway of how you align to your unique leadership voice. And so a big part of what I do in human design is really helping people understand how to awaken, activate, and amplify their unique leadership voice. So what we do is we look at your specific leadership markers and what lives inside of that. And then we map out your success paths. There's 4 pathways of how you as an entrepreneur are designed to operate and show up and be successful in your business. And it helps you navigate through change. What do you need to build in terms of balance and sustainability for you and your business? How do you attract the right clients and right opportunities to you? And then how do you create that visibility? And so there's sort of 3 levels depending on where you're at and what is of interest to you.
I love you, Candy Barone. I just do. It's just what you say makes so much sense, and you're so generous. You have a generous heart, and generosity is one of my core values. So I recognize that in you. So I want to recognize that and appreciate that. And I can't wait to bring you into my rooms because this is just one of many conversations, and I think my clients, especially in our mastermind programs and reliable revenue and impact builders, that there's a lot of insight people can attain from running their chart and having a conversation with you. So we'll definitely take the next steps. And that's candybarone.com, BARONE, HD/chart.
Chart. Yep. And you can do the readings on it. Like, it gives you the other resources on there.
Yeah, so valuable. Candy, thank you so much. I mean, I could go on and on and on in our conversation, but I think you've given so much insight and practicality in understanding what your human design type is. And so, my friends, I encourage you to go to Candy's website, understand what your human design is, consume that report, reach out to her for that analysis conversation and how you can be applying this either in your transition from corporate leader to entrepreneur, or as a more established entrepreneur, how you can optimize your brilliance, your energy, and avoid the places where you can be actually maybe repelling people from you, or doing more harm than good because not everybody can see it the same way you do. Thank you so much, Candy.
Oh, thank you, Deb, so much. And I just have to say, I adore you. I love you. And just so appreciate the opportunity to be in this conversation with you. It's, I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much. And that's it for now, my friends. We'll see you next time on Life After Corporate. We appreciate your taking time to listen to our show. And if you enjoyed this episode, please do us a solid, leave us a rating or review, and subscribe to the show on your favorite streaming platform. We'll see you next time.